That's right. Ebru PrimeTime News on the 17th day of December 2019 begins right now. Good evening and welcome aboard. My name is Kenneth. Kazungu.
My name is Diana Rachel Mbogwa. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Joyce Wairimo. Now, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has rubbished claims that musician Kennedy Ombima, popularly known as King Kaka, had today been summoned to appear before them.
The statement by the DCI is one of many in the broad debate sparked by a controversial song the singer released hours ago.
Musician Kennedy Ombima today recorded a statement with the police regarding his alleged summoning by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations (DCI), which the state agency has since denied. The musician, an hour after appearing at the DCI headquarters where he emerged after 30 minutes, reported to the Muthaiga police station where he was issued with an OB number 42/17/12/19. The report at the Muthaiga police station was a culmination of a day of drama involving his colleagues in the art scene, politicians as well as activists.
Kenneth, napenda Kenya bana. It's all love.
The musician says that he received a call from one Onyancha at 10:41 in the morning, telling him that they had been summoned, a claim not taken lightly by the DCI, which sent out a warning shot to those who might want to seek fame using its name.
Swali, ati Waiguru wako kwa office na story ya NYS tulishasahau. Bairo moja alibuy 8 tao. Bairo tunanunuanga mbao.
King Kaka, as he is popularly known to his fans, caused a stir when he named senior politicians as perpetrators of some of the biggest scams in the country.
When you are a holder of a public office, you are fair game in terms of being criticized for what you do. Comments made that are favorable or unfavorable, you cannot criminalize them and seek to privatize the public office.
Na sisi tuko busy wajinga nyenye tuna clap.
There was a twist when the rapper also claimed that he is yet to receive any demand letter from Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, who is reported to have threatened to sue him for defamation.
Anja mtazikwa nazo, news flash, flash rudi kwa dust, nchi inaongozwa na thieves, na ukiogopa jua hawezi kuwa chief.
The song titled Wajinga Nyinyi, which he says is meant to awaken the conscience of the masses, has attracted varied views on where the country is headed.
Hiyo nyimbo ambayo ilitolewa na Kaka, mimi naona ya kwamba Waiguru naye anachokosa huyu mjamaa kwa sababu ule ni musician, anaweza imba kitu chochote. Na kama hakutaja jina lake, swali langu, kwa nini aambie huyu mjamaa apologize? Anapologizea nani? Anapologizea wa Kenya ama anapologizea Waiguru?
Kaka alitaja taasisi ambayo kwa lugha ya Kikoroni inaitwa institution ya NYS. Hii taasisi ya NYS, waranguzi na waragai walikuwa wengi. Mheshimiwa Gavana Waiguru alikuanga mbali kwa hawa. Wale watu walikuenga hapo wakubwa madirector, ndio huyu jamaa alikuwa anazungumzia juu yake.
Eric Nene, Ebru TV.
I support teachers, doctors wakistrike. Na the president is saying ati kama hawatarudi watachujwa. Hakuna.
Very interesting times indeed.
Yeah.
But to more stories now, and of course, has the National Transport and Safety Authority lifted the ban on Modern Coast Bus Company?
Now, that is the question on the lips of many in the wake of double speak by the road safety body.
But even as the back and forth intensifies, our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim spoke to the affected commuters who spoke about the pain of a stalled trip.
In what was supposed to be a good day for the company and the travelers who came after they were told the suspension was lifted.
Mimi nilikuwa nimebook gari ya 17th Tuesday ambayo ni leo. Nilikuwa nimebook Friday. Sasa after kusikia wamekuwa suspended, niko stressed. Nikakuja hapa almost daily nikuja nikuulizia venye sana itakuwa, mi ticket yangu nishabook. Sasa nikakuja hapa jana wakasema wataresume leo.
Nilikuja hapa confirm ka hiyo pesa wanaweza refund, lakini vile nimepata wamefungua nikatuambia wameresume hiyo kazi.
But no sooner have they packed their bags ready for travel than a new order surfaced claiming that the suspension was still in force. The bus company woes seem far from ending after the National Transport and Safety Authority maintained that the suspension for the modern buses was not lifted. However, in a letter to the company, the NTSA had indicated that they were lifting suspension for 43 buses out of the 74 in operation. NTSA suspended the operator's license on December 12 after 2 of their buses collided, killing 7 passengers and leaving 62 others injured. 3 days after the Modern Coast suspension notice, NTSA summoned officials from Tamheed Coach Limited over its safety record. Elsewhere, travelers have raised their concerns over the hiked prices caused by the festive season.
Nimetoka sehemu za Ukambani. Fare imekuwa juu kidogo lakini inaendelea kupanda.
Na kwa leo nilikuwa nasafiri naenda Kitale. Hata ningejua mapema ningekata easy coach ama Guardian. Juu bei yao iko fixed ni 1450. Lakini kukuja hapa country bus bei iko juu zaidi.
Otherwise sijawahi kuona mwaka kama huu. Kwa hivyo hata vile unasema tuta hike sababu gari inajaa inarudi bila hakuna hata magari yamelala huko. Kwa hivyo tuko na shida. Wananchi wako na shida. Hakuna pesa.
Tukiendelea hivi vile kunaenda fare itareji tu kuanzia 15 mpaka 2,000. Fare itafika 25 venye watu wanaendanga siku zingine ama 3,000.
Businessmen and women working around stages have also said that the lack of customers has hindered their profit.
Na niliamuka hapa nikakuja hapa saa 11. Nimejaribu kuuza vitu lakini sioni customer. Watu ni wengi. Wakikuja kiusia customer anakuambia ni transport iko juu. Sasa anakuambia niusie maji yenye iko chini. Sasa unamuuzia maji na mbao.
Nauza mari lakini unachua maabiria wakiongezewa bei na Mr. Baada ruhusa ya kuuza. Sasa shida ni ile kama sasa hivi wameanza kupandisha bei wanakata 15. Na sasa ndio maana najiuliza ikifika tarehe 20 kampuni zinafungwa. Sasa si wataongeza bei juu.
Some of the residents maintain that their main concern is that drivers need to drive with caution so as to avoid accidents that have been witnessed in different parts around the country. Abdulaziz Hashim, Ebru TV.
Right now, moving on, the Building Bridges Initiative and its task force will now know its fate on the 4th of March next year when the High Court will rule on a petition challenging its legality.
The petition, of course, by Third Way Alliance party leader Dr. Kuro Court seeks to have the task force disbanded on among other grounds that hundreds of millions of shillings were spent on a two-person initiative.
Even after President Uhuru Kenyatta and the ODM leader Raila Odinga extended the tenure of the Building Bridges Initiative BBI team, the fate of the task force now hangs in balance after Third Way Alliance party leader Kuro Court moved to court to challenge it. Kuro Court argues that BBI team was not legally formed and its pioneers are using it as a scapegoat to mint public resources.
Let us now be mature. And I appeal especially to the political class. Don't divide these people, they don't deserve it. Na lazima tuseme ya kwamba tunataka siasa ambazo zitatoa hizo hofu kwa wananchi na ndio wafanyabiashara wetu waweze kupanga wakienda mbele.
Through his lawyer Elias Mutuma, Kuro Court wants the High Court to disband the BBI team on grounds that it was formed unconstitutionally. In his case, Kuro Court also claimed that even the members who represent the BBI team were not vetted and there was no public participation. He further insisted that the BBI process has continued to take money from the public coffers to conduct its operations, thus adding heavy financial cost to the common mwananchi. After the March 9th handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the ODM leader Raila Odinga, the duo formed the BBI team, comprising of the 14 members led by Adam Solo, Senator Mohamed Yusuf Haji, Senator Amos Wako, lawyer Paul Mwangi, Agnes Kavindo, Florence Omoze, among others.
All we would be opposed to ourselves from this region is if they try to doctor that document. What was brought to Bomas is acceptable to us. But if there are games of trying to probably sneak in a few things that could either increase the burden on Wanjiko, dilute one man, one vote, create seats for people that we would be opposed to.
The team then embarked on their 15-month journey by traversing 14 counties, collecting the views from the Kenyans over the 9 key issues ailing the country, before converging for 3 months to write a report, which they presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga at State House, before it was launched at the Bomas of Kenya. By now, the fate of the BBA now lies in the hands of Justice John Mativo, who is expected to write a judgment to be delivered on the 4th of March next year, 2020. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Jeff Khaimba.
So more stories now, and a section of Machakos residents took to the streets to protest the alleged threats on Governor Alfred Mutua's life by top Jubilee leaders.
Now, the Machakos County Chief on Monday accused Deputy President William Ruto and 2 of his close allies of allegedly threatening him as the 2022 succession battle turned murkier. Duncan Bithi, a businessman, called on Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i to add more security to Governor Mutua and investigate the allegations as said by the governor.
Na ile Kenya tuko kwa saa hii, mtu akona freedom so long as hajakutusi haongee lolote na aseme yote, na Mutua ni national leader na tunaomba aheshimiwe.
Tumekasirika na kusitikika sana kuona gavana wetu anadhulumiwa. Tunaomba kama inawezekana apewe huru, afanye kazi vile amesaidia Machakos. Ndivyo hata sisi tunataka azidi kutembea nje, asaidie. Sio eti hapa Machakos peke yake. Mutua tunataka tumuombee azidi kuongoza mpaka hata akuwe president.
Kenya iko 47 counties na tuko na uhuru ya kukanyanga mahali popote tunataka. So I want to tell the leaders who are ambao wanabweka. Hii kubweka hii ni makosa sana.
Now, the case filed by Dr. Tatu Kamau, a medical doctor seeking to legalize the female genital mutilation, continued today with expert witnesses taking the stand to outline the dangers of embracing the cut.
The witnesses, who also happen to be medical doctors, say the cut would only cut the gains made in freedoms and liberties.
The 3-judge bench, comprising of Justices Lydia Achode, Kanyi Kimondo and Margaret Muigai, continued to hear the case today, where it took the evidence of experts witnesses who outlined reasons why the cut shouldn't be legalized. The witnesses argue that if the cut is allowed, it will not only cut on the gains made in freedoms and liberties, but also greatly affect women's health.
No, FGM is a killer of babies and mothers. And FGM has been documented, and the Constitution of Kenya is there to protect the health and lives of people. Cosmetic surgery, I've said, if something is done for medical reason, if something is done, whatever it is, if it's done for medical reason, it can be done. So if you tell me that a plastic surgeon who has done that one is cutting women for no medical indication, then it is also mutilation.
There is no valid consent requesting that you be done harm, and no healthcare provider worth the assault would accept just a consent to do harm.
The court also took the evidence of an interested party, a Kalenjin traditionalist, John Kiplangat Arap Koech, who claimed that the practice is exaggerated as mutilation, yet his community only performs female genital operation. He says female circumcision has been practiced by his community before, and it is inextricably tied to their culture.
I mean, having anxiety, having depression, having post-traumatic stress disorder.
The court will continue hearing the case on 13th and 14th January 2020. The Female Genital Mutilation Act was passed in 2011 to protect people from harm by means of this practice. Currently, anyone found guilty of FGM could serve a sentence of not less than 3 years or pay a fine of 200,000 Kenyan shillings. Despite this, it continues to be prevalent in some parts of the country. Dr. Tatu Kamau went to court for the first time in January 2018, citing infringement on women's rights and further wanting an order that declares the prohibition of FGM unconstitutional. Busara Naman for Ebru TV.
Now, moving on, the talk of impeaching Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is dividing the county down in the middle, with a section of residents expressing varied reactions.
The decision by the High Court failing to stop impeachment motions throws a spanner in the works, even as the embattled county chief has a long 72 hours ahead of what could be his golden ticket back to City Hall. Monday's decision by Justice Weldon Korir of the High Court declining to stop the impeachment motion against Governor Mike Sonko has left the already embattled county chief exposed to the ouster process as a section of MCAs wage on with the impeachment plot.
Sonko's problem can't be the Assembly's problem or can't be the people of Nairobi's problem. These two members are contemplating the same under Article 181 of the Constitution, which is also agreeable. If you read Article 181 of the Constitution E, it speaks about how the process of impeaching the governor is, especially 181B.
Sonko's goose appears cooked from all fronts, and the only hope he has would be on Friday if the Court of Appeal overturns the Justice Mumbi Ngugi ruling that barred charged county chiefs from accessing the office until their cases are heard and determined. The decision has also left the county chiefs scratching their heads and are now heading to David Maraga for recourse.
The county governments will urgently move to court over the ruling seeking governors to step aside when charged on corruption matters.
The void at City Hall has also opened the lead on the divisions, with both anti- and pro-Sonko factions led by Speaker Beatrice Elachi saying the impeachment question is premature.
I would say you need to look at the process. Are you in control of the process? Because you don't impeach and finalize. You impeach and send it to the Senate. What about if the Senate does not allow? Don't you?
The looming impeachment puts Speaker Elachi in an awkward position, as she could be forced to preside over the skinning of Sonko, his new political ally.
Governor, sasa, Your Excellency, watu tumetoka mbali.
Watu lazima heshimu governor.
Nao walichukua advantage.
Watu lazima heshimu governor na speaker.
Wapate do. Walijua umefunga mifereji.
But what do Nairobians feel about the whole issue?
Kwangu, kwa sababu walichaguliwa na Wakenya, wangeacha endelee na kazi, kwa sababu kuna wale wengi wamefanya ufisadi na sijaona wakichukulia hatua kama yake.
Soma gazeti hapa naona mali mingi yote hii. Kama kuna mali ya kutosha, enda kaa nyumbani akule mali yake polepole. Na wachia wengine wafanye kazi. Tupate governor, tupate deputy governor. Maisha yaendelee.
Haifai wamuondoe sababu yeye kufanya makosa kushinda watu wengine. Kwa hivyo naonelea ya kwamba wamrudishie kiti yake amalize hii miaka miwili.
Now, a Kenya Defense Forces soldier accused of killing his wife and 2 children a month and a half ago in Nanyuki town will take a plea this Friday after the court deferred his case for a second time, awaiting mental assessment.
The suspect, that is Major Peter Muwore, will remain in custody for 2 more days after the prosecution told Nyeri High Court Judge Jairus Nga that he is yet to undergo mental examination to determine his suitability to stand trial.
Major McGorry is alleged to have murdered his estranged wife, 31-year-old Joyce Yambua, and their 2 children, Shanice Mau, 10 years old, and Prince Michael, 5 years old. Their bodies were found stashed in a gunny bag and buried in a shallow grave in Makaburini area on the outskirts of Nanyuki town on November 16th, when the suspect led the police to the site. The 3 were last seen on October 25th when they traveled from Nairobi to Nanyuki to visit Mugure at the army barracks. They were reported missing on October 27th, and a report made at Soweto police station, and investigations commenced. While applying for the postponement of taking plea, Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecution Peter Mailanyi told the court that the suspect could not be examined on Thursday last week as scheduled, since the psychiatrist at the Nyeri Referral Hospital was off duty, given the day was a public holiday. He reported that prisons officer at Kingongo GK prison, where the suspect is being held, had availed him for examination at the facility, only to find the psychiatrist away. Mailanyi, however, assured the court that all necessary arrangements would be made to have him assessed this Thursday, ahead of taking plea the following day, Friday, December 20th. The case, which commenced in Nanyuki Law Courts, will henceforth be tried in Nyeri, according to the prosecution, given that some witnesses, including the family of the deceased and army officers, had expressed concern over their safety. On December 6th, when the matter was first mentioned in Nyeri, Mailanyi told the court that the last time the suspect was arraigned in Nanyuki Law Courts, the doors of the courtroom had to close to ensure safety of the suspect. He said members of the public had jammed the court grounds, baying for his blood, forcing the state to opt for a neutral ground where both prosecution and defense witnesses will feel free to testify. Now, Deputy President William Ruto has faulted the education system in the country for what he says is the lagging behind in development.
Now, the DP, who spoke in Tongaren, Bungoma County, during a career guidance program where over 10,000 students from the county enrolled to various TVETs in the country. Of course, the DP called for a paradigm shift in career choices among the youth, a move he says will reduce unemployment. He is urging Kenyans to embrace technical and vocational education training, or TVET, to acquire the much-needed technical skills in the implementation of the country's transformational agenda.
Kenya ilichelewa kwenda mbele kwa sababu tulikosa watu wenye ujuzi wa ufundi na teknolojia kama course ambayo nyinyi mumekujia. That is how we delayed. Nchi kama Korea, nchi kama Malaysia, nchi kama Germany, nchi kama Australia walitupita na wakaenda mbele zaidi kwa sababu 70% ya masomo katika nchi hizo ni masomo ya ufundi na teknolojia kama hii yenu. Lakini sisi tulibadilisha tukafanya masomo ya historia 70%, hii ya ufundi na teknolojia ikawa 30%. That's why bado tuko nyuma. Hii mnanielewa jameni? I want to persuade you ya kwamba you have made the right decision to join TVET. This is how we are going to change Kenya.
Moving on, and African countries have made significant strides in advancing human development and gaining ground on primary education and health.
Now, this is according to a United Nations Development Program report. Kaindo Stefano tells us more.
The Human Development Report is an annual report published by the Human Development Report Office of the United Nations Development Program. The report says last decade saw convergence in human development indicators values globally. Although progress was uneven within and between regions, Kenya was not an exception, and the report is equally important for Kenya.
On the theme of beyond income, beyond averages, beyond today, inequalities in human development in the 21st century. We know that this is a critical topic and relevant for UNDP's own mission here in Kenya.
UNDP resident representative Walid Badawi said the launch of the report in Kenya comes at a perfect time when Kenya is working on implementing several reports that expound on human development, the current one being the BBI report.
Now, we're also very, very pleased to see the alignment between the advocacy and the content of human development and how it resonates with Kenya's own national development planning frameworks. We see the very direct linkage with MTP3, Vision 2030, the Big Four agenda, but also very central to what was just launched in the BBI report. When we look at issues around inclusiveness and shared prosperity.
Resident representative for Kenya at UNDP, Sadarthi Shatarje, said good governance focus keenly on health, education, and more importantly, equality.
This is where I believe the power of public policy comes into play. It is about equity, it is about equality, and how that transforms. If you look at post-Second World War Europe and the advent of the Marshall Plan, good governance, a focus on good health and education is what brought human capital up. If you look at the story of the Asian tigers, very similar.
Chattarjee added that what Kenya does now will indicate what Kenya's population will become in the coming years.
And we are at a median age of 18. What we do now will define the trajectory of Kenya's population over the next 10 to 15 years.
National Treasury and Planning PS Saitoti Torome said Kenya has made strides in human development.
Since independence, Kenya has been progressively towards the realization of human development goals. The national economy has gradually expanded and significant progress have been achieved.
Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Kaindo Stefano.
Now, Inspector General Hilary Mtiambai has been ordered by the High Court to arrest Treasury PS Julius Moya after failing to appear in court to give evidence in a commercial case.
Justice David Majanja issued the warrant of arrest against the PS after he failed to honor summons to give evidence in a suit relating to the reopening of the accounts of a Child Welfare Society of Kenya on December 9th. The court summoned the PS who took over from suspended PS, that is Kamau Thuge, to appear in court on today. The court also declined to reopen the bank accounts of the Child Welfare Society, which were frozen after activist Ukia Omtata filed an application in court over the running of the society's accounts.
Well, on that particular note, we take a very short break, but we'll be right back with more news here on Ebru Primetime News. Don't go too far.
All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. To news now making headlines further afield. And a special court in Pakistan has sentenced former Pakistan Army Chief and ex-President General retired Pervez Musharraf the death penalty in a treason case.
Musharraf, 76, who's been living in Dubai and London since 2014, was indicted on March 31st, 2014, when the prosecution had tabled the entire evidence before the special court in September the same year. However, due to litigation at appellate forums, the trial of the former military dictator lingered on and he left Pakistan in March 2016. Musharraf was charged with abrogating the constitution twice, and a special court was constituted by then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to try Musharraf for high treason. This is the first time in the history of Pakistan that a former army chief has been handed the death sentence. The special court order is subject to appeal. A three-member bench of the special court, headed by Peshawar High Court Chief Justice Waqar Ahmed Seth, on Tuesday handed former military ruler Pervez Musharraf the death sentence. Musharraf has been living in Dubai and London since 2014 after he was allowed to travel on medical grounds. He never went back despite court orders and was also earlier put on a list of the most wanted people. Musa Amir for Ebru News.
Now back to Africa. With no end in sight to Zimbabwe's doctors' strike over salaries and poor working conditions, desperate patients have looked to church-run mission hospitals for much-needed health care.
Karanda Mission Hospital, north of the capital, that is Harare, is overwhelmed by patients seeking treatment.
Patients from all over Zimbabwe are flooding Karanda Mission Hospital in Mount Darwin near the border with Mozambique. They began coming to this hospital founded by the Evangelical Church after doctors at state hospitals went on strike in September. Some have traveled hundreds of kilometers after being turned away by state hospitals.
I wasn't treated because of the doctor's strike, so I came here in November, but I have not yet been helped. The place is flooded. I was told I would be attended to on November 29, but they said they had more urgent cases, so I was told to come back this week. If I do not get treated now, they said it'll be in January.
Canadian Dr. Paul Thistle is head of Karanda Mission Hospital. He says their patient numbers have more than doubled in the last 2 months.
And that's put stresses on our human resources, our nurses, our doctors, plus our physical resources and medicines and surgical supplies. So Karanda is seen as perhaps the port of last hope for some people who have failed to access services elsewhere in the country. As you can see by the queues, some people may wait 2 or 3 days to get seen by a doctor. But we do our best with what we have.
The wait for health care can take days or even weeks, so patients who have traveled here for treatment have few options. Zimbabwean doctors say they cannot survive with low salaries and poor working conditions, while the government says it has no money to meet their demands. The World Health Organization hopes doctors and the government can soon negotiate a solution.
I'm very worried that the most vulnerable will not be able to access the care they need. We have been following the discussions, the dialogue, and we are hopeful that a consensus will be reached and the health workers can be back on duty within the shortest time possible, because the poor and the most vulnerable are the ones most affected by this impasse.
Meanwhile, medical aid groups such as the Karanda Mission Hospital are doing what they can as patients wait for health care. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Mount Darwin, Zimbabwe.
Now, with the U.S. House of Representatives expected to vote to impeach President Donald Trump this week, the White House is shifting focus to the Republican-led Senate, where the president will face a trial as early as January.
Here's more.
December is usually a time for holiday parties and cheer. Instead, the White House is gearing up for a battle. This week, the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives is expected to vote to impeach President Donald Trump on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Trump will face trial in the Senate, where Democrats demand to hear from more witnesses, including acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
They might present exculpatory evidence that helps President Trump. It may be incriminating against the president, but they should be heard.
So far, the White House strategy has been to stonewall and call the House investigations a sham partisan process, which has been effective in maintaining support from Trump's base.
As long as he maintains his base and those people do not break with the president, then the senators will think to themselves, well, it doesn't do me any good to break with the president if I'm running for re-election.
Now that the process is moving to the Republican-led Senate, the White House strategy is shifting. They are now working with top Republicans to move the trial quickly and limit political damage.
I've heard Mitch, I've heard Lindsey. I think they are very much in agreement on some concept. I'll do whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has pledged total coordination with the administration. Critics accuse him of violating the duty to be impartial.
That's a strategy that's worked well for McConnell in the past, to go ahead and signal his allegiances, signal what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. So he's betting that that's in fact what Republicans want to have him do and want to hear him say right now.
Another strategy, continue to attack Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden as corrupt for allowing his son to be on the board of a Ukrainian energy company when he was vice president. The accusations may be hurting Biden.
But you, on the other hand, sent your son over there to get a job and work for a gas company.
Joe Biden dismisses demands that he testify in Trump's impeachment trial as a ploy to divert attention. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News at the White House.
You don't hear that on MSNBC. You did not hear that at all.
All right, from that story from Capitol Hill, we want to take a very short break. When we come back, we'll have the latest in the world of business.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has launched a freight service on the standard gauge railway SGR from Nairobi to Naivasha.
The head of state has noted that the commencement of the freight service to Naivasha and the completion of the Naivasha ICD will boost development of the Naivasha Industrial Park, as our reporter Njeri Njogu now tells us.
The new service now extends SGR freight operations from Mombasa to the Naivasha Inland Container Depot. The launch of the cargo operations comes less than 2 months after President unveiled passenger service on the same route. The Naivasha ICD will be served by 2 trains a day, and already 2 shipping lines have committed to take their cargo directly from the port of Mombasa to Naivasha.
We'll be serving 2 trains a day with
cargo destined for our neighbors. And as it stands today, we already have commitment from 2 shipping lines.
The president says that the SGR is impacting positive on the development and growth of the Kenyan economy, adding that the new railway line has helped decongest Mombasa port.
Together, we'll trigger creation of productive employment and in the process, reduce poverty and inequality across the whole country.
President Kenyatta has noted the commencement of the freight services to Naivasha and the completion of the Naivasha ICD is expected to boost the development of Naivasha Industrial Park.
We shall be opening and groundbreaking a new factory in Naivasha next year, despite on top of all the others who are interested in coming to set up investments in Naivasha as a result of the railway.
Wang Yang, a special envoy sent by Chinese president, says Kenya and China are engaged in a mutual beneficial partnership aimed at benefiting the people of the two countries.
The Mombasa-Nairobi Railway and the Nairobi-Malaba Railway are both witnesses of China's growing friendship with Kenya and the wider Africa.
In October this year, President launched Phase 2 of the standard gauge railway for passenger services from Nairobi to Naivasha. Njeri Njogu for Ebru TV.
Now, Kenya's monthly kerosene consumption hit its lowest level in more than 13 years at 11,130 metric tons in September.
The fall in paraffin consumption coincided with the growing use of liquefied petroleum gas that hit a 2-year high of 28,490 metric tons in January this year. Latest numbers from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that the use of kerosene in households has not gone past the 20,000 metric tons mark since August of last year, after the introduction of a levy to deter adulteration of diesel with the product. September's consumption was the lowest since at least December 2006, when the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics started making public the monthly consumption numbers. Now, this could mean that the move by government to introduce the adulteration levy of 18 shillings per litre in September of 2018 as a way to limit its use could be working, following findings that up to 75% of paraffin in the market went into adulteration of diesel. Kerosene or paraffin is mainly used in informal settlements in the urban areas and rural parts of Kenya to power cook stoves and lanterns. The fall in paraffin consumption coincided with the growing use of liquefied petroleum gas or LPG that hit a 2-year high of 28,500 metric tons in January this year. This, however, fell to 13,270 metric tons in June. Firewood remains the #1 cooking fuel by households at 54.6%, followed by charcoal at 14.6%, kerosene at 14%, and LPG at 13.4%. The use of gas has also been boosted by the availability in the market of smaller cylinders of 6 and 3 kilograms, which have helped homes that cannot afford the larger 13-kilogram cylinder access the product. Let's fly away now, and Boeing has announced temporary suspension, of course, of matters to do with its best-selling 737 MAX airliner. Beginning January next year, the plane maker's biggest assembly line halt in more than 20 years.
Now, the move follows repercussions from the 2 deadly crashes that have dragged into 2020.
The action is said to put the systems in a better position to recover and more efficiently deliver completed airlines once the 737 MAX comes back into service.
In January next year, Boeing will temporarily halt production of its troubled 737 MAX airliner. Production of the jet had continued despite the model being grounded for 9 months after 2 deadly crashes. More than 300 people died when 2 737 MAX aircraft crashed in Indonesia and Ethiopia after reported problems with a new feature. The immediate impact is likely to be muted because once the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration approves the 737 MAX to resume flying, airlines' first priority is to prepare the 737 MAX jets already in their fleets to return to service. Then they will look to attack delivery of the 400 planes that have been produced since grounding. Analysts estimate Boeing has the ability to deliver a maximum of 70 of the planes to customers per month, meaning getting through the backload will take nearly 6 months, even if it kept the pause on the production for that entire period. FAA approval to resume flying is not likely until at least February and could be delayed until March. U.S. officials have told Reuters. Airlines will have to install Boeing's new software, run a series of maintenance checks on their idle jets, and implement the recommended pilot training, the latter of which could vary from country to country. The return could also depend on regulators outside an airline's home jurisdiction. Singapore Airlines Limited has said that even if Singapore approves the return of the 737 MAX, it will need permission from authorities in Indonesia and China for its plans to resume their normal routes. Melia Kisianya for Ebru TV.
Now, the Ministry of Agriculture set aside 2 billion shillings to be used by farmers to acquire fertilizer using e-vouchers from agrovet shops in a bid to curb corruption and offer growers quality inputs.
Now, this comes even as the government extends the number of crops covered under the subsidy program to include Irish potatoes, coffee and rice, which has been enjoying the largest share of the cheap fertilizer.
Agriculture PS Hamadi Boga says part of the funds will be used in soil testing and provision of lime to correct acidity blamed for declining production. Boga has noted that the planned supply model would also provide zones with fertilizer type that matches their soil profile in a quest to deal with declining fertility. Though the state planned to roll out the e-voucher this year, the plan did not materialize even as farmers missed out on the subsidized fertilizer. The e-voucher payment will, however, spread out distribution from the National Cereals and Produce Board depots, whose staff had been accused of repackaging the subsidized fertilizer and selling it at market rate. Under this scheme, the ministry had indicated that farmers will buy e-vouchers from the agriculture offices in their counties and later redeem them at agro shops for the subsidized fertilizers. It is costly for farmers in zones not close to the NCPB depots to access the subsidized fertilizers, which retails at 1,800 shillings a bag, a 34% discount on the market price of 3,000 shillings. The e-voucher could also curb graft linked to the selling of subsidized fertilizer to non-farmers by the NCPB officials. The NCPB managers in Western, North Rift and South Rift were suspended last year amid revelations that they sold state-funded fertilizer to traders who repackaged for sale at market rate. In October 2018, Edward Ouko, the then Auditor General, said the National Cereals and Produce Board could not provide verifiable documents for audit to confirm the quantity of fertilizer bought, the quality sold to farmers and the selling prices under the 2.1 billion shillings disbursed to the agency. Winnie Lubembe for Ebru TV.
Now, in the wake of the recent Madrid conference on climate and the heated debate that followed, Kenya can definitely borrow a leaf from Russia.
Here's why. Russia's contribution to curbing greenhouse gas emissions globally has over the last 20 years remained roughly at a constant percentage of 30 since 1990.
Russia's focus to curb greenhouse emissions is on the rise, citing climatic change, which is undoubtedly one of the most serious challenges that countries globally are facing. From the inception of the international climate process, Russia has always played an active and constructive role in it. Russia, being part of the Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement, took the obligations upon themselves to follow closely the multilateral agreements and fulfill them to their best. Over the last 30 years, Russia has maintained gas emissions at 30% in 1990 level, which in physical terms constitutes a reduction of 41 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, making it among the best performer in this field. The Russian approach to combating climate change is based on responsibility, consistency and realism. Russia notes a technological process and general greening and its current structure, Russia's energy sector has become 87% clean and climate-friendly. Only 13% of electricity is generated from coal, while the rest comes from natural gas, hydro, nuclear and renewable sources. This figure is expected to improve further as a result of the planned expansion of the generation of solar, wind, geothermal and other renewable sources of energy. In Kenya, solar power has been termed as the next frontier for Kenya's renewable energy sector. In the recent past, the uptake of solar power in Kenya has been due to several factors such as cheaper technology for solar panels, abundant supply of panels, over-reliance and costliness of fossil fuels, and the unstable nature of both hydro and wind power generation. More Kenyans are now turning to solar power every year rather than make connections to the country's electric grid.
All right, time for us to take a look at the world of sports. Now, defending champions Harambee Stars were on Tuesday bundled out of the Sakafa Senior Challenge Cup after suffering a chastening 4-1 defeat in the hands of a well-drilled and determined Red Sea Boys of Eritrea at the KCCA Lugogo Stadium in Kampala.
Kenya, with head coach Francis Kimanzi back on the touchline, never came to the party and found the pace of the Red Sea Boys, who too much to handle. It was guesswork for Stars to the agony of Kimanzi until the end, as the Minnows, who were playing in the Sekafa Senior Challenge semis for the first time in 25 years, ruthlessly sent home the 2017 champions. Kenya will play the loser between hosts Uganda Cranes and Tanzania's Kilimanjaro Stars in the playoffs that will curtain raise the Thursday final.
Now, the Sports Personality of the Year awards, that is Soya, has received a boost to a tune of 16 million shillings from title sponsor Safaricom that will go towards the 16th edition of Soya Awards.
Amongst the categories to be awarded include the overall Sports Personality of the Year, Sportsman and Woman of the Year, Team of the Year for men and women, as well as the Federation of the Year. Others include Coach of the Year, Community Hero and Heroine, usually recognized for their contribution to sports in the community, Hall of Fame and sports personalities living with disability. Upcoming athletes are also recognized through Most Promising Award and the schools categories. The 2019 edition of the event set to be held in Mombasa County on January 24, 2020. The awards were first held in 2004 with 6 categories to recognize outstanding athletes.
As Paul has said, Soya has grown from very humble beginnings. Very humble beginnings. And over the years, Soya has become the premier sport event in this country. And that is not any mean achievement. So we are very proud to be associated with Soya. We really look forward.
Soya, its main work is to appreciate talent. Once we give somebody an award, for example, Eliud Kipchoge was he won it in 2018. You remember he won it in Mombasa, and you see what he has gone to do. He has become the first man to run under 2 minutes in the marathon. A number of other athletes have also done that. We also we have an award for the most promising category, where we award and through Safaricom and other sponsors. So once we award the most promising, they come up into the ranks, and in the end they start breaking world records across the world. They start making a mark for themselves outside Kenya in what they are doing in sports.
This event of Soya, I believe it's going to be one of its own, because it is one of its own within this region. If you could see in terms of talk of the region, the whole of East Africa, we don't have one like this. It is one of its own. It is the only opportunity that we can be able to give our sportsmen to celebrate, come together and celebrate. And we crown the year together because of the successful work that they had been doing.
Now, at least 20 young footballers at the ongoing Kibwezi football tournament in Makueni County have been identified for further professional nurturing.
Of course, the competition, which is supported by the Kibwezi Youth Mentorship and Sports Association, began early this month and cuts across the 6 awards of the Kibwezi West constituency. The talented young footballers were identified by professional football scouts who have pitched camp in the area. The number of talents expected to hit 50 and above as the competition enters its home stretch on December the 31st.
Tumekuwa na scouts ambao wameangalia wale vijana wetu ambao wako na talanta. Na tunataka tukikuja kumaliza hizi michezo tarehe 31st kule Makindu katika sub-county headquarters, tuweze kuwa na timu moja ya Kibwezi West ambao tunaweza peleka ikashindana na timu zingine za Kenya, na baadaye tuweze kuwa tunapeleka wachezaji wetu nchi za ng'ambo, ndio michezo yetu iweze kutupatia fedha za kujimudu kimaisha.
Now, Kenya Motorsports Federation has confirmed the 2019 champions following the cancellation of season-closing KCB Guru Nanak Rally last week. The champions will be feted during the 2019 KMSF Annual Awards Gala on January 11, 2020.
The annual awards will also ascertain the KMSF Motorsports Personality of the Year 2019. The KCB Bank Kenya National Rally Championship overall winners are Baldev Singh Chaga and co-driver Ravi Soni. Chaga wrapped up the 2019 season with a cumulative total points of 162, 20 clear of the 2018 champion Carl Flash Tundo. But the much-anticipated homestretch showdown between Chaga and Tundo came a cropper when the inclement weather prompted organizers to call off the Sikh Union round.
Well, on this note, this is where we wrap up Ebru Primetime News. Thank you so much for keeping us company and letting us inform you as always. And of course, thank you to everyone who made this bulletin a success. My name is Diana Rachel Mbogwa. Do have yourselves a lovely night and God bless you.
And my name is Kenneth. Kazungu, on sign language interpreter for tonight has been the lovely Joyce Wairimo. See you soon and God bless.